Hello friends, this is Promi and welcome back to the Kerbal Commonwealth Space Agency. So, I was giving some thought as to what our next missions should be. There was the possibility of sending Kerbals to the Moon. So we do have our 3 Kerbal command pod, which is still in an experimental state. We currently have access to it because of a contract to land it on the Moon, which would be part of the point of going there. But I still don't have a proper 2.5 meter heat shield for it. We used this sort of 7 shield arrangement for the orbital adventure, but it's a little bit unwieldy. It weighs quite a bit more than a single 2.5 meter heat shield would. So I'm going to put this mission off until we can unlock a new heat shield. And some additional other parts would probably help us out too. But what did occur to me is that the design for the Münar Trifecta would work equally well for Minmus. So we're going to do a Minmus probe. Let's check out the contracts that Jean has for us. Okay, let's see. Is there anything here related to Minmus? Got Explore Minmus, so we'll take that. And we've got Place a Relay Satellite around Minmus. We'll take that one as well. Let's see what else we got here. Bunch of stuff for Kerbin, satellites in high equatorial orbit around Kerbin. Test the liquid fuel engine. Thud, not Kerbin. Well, we'll grab that one because it'll be quick to do for a bit of money. Also got some tourist ones, temperature surveys on the Moon, generic surveys near KSP monolith. Take some laser ablation readings. Well, we can do that one too. Easy chunk of money. And I think that looks about it for now. So let's head back to our space center. First off, let's join Bill and Bob on the launch pad with this test rig for our Mark 55 radial engines. Don't worry, they are wearing hearing protection. And test complete. So, with that out of the way, let's go to the VAB and construct our Minmus rocket. Okay, let's load up the Münar Trifecta to begin with. Now this isn't the Münar anymore, it's the... Oops, getting some click-through on the interface. There you go. So it is the Minmian, and it's not a trifecta because we didn't have a contract for an impactor, so it's just the Duo. And we're going to make some changes to the bottom of our lifter, somewhat based off the L5 lantern from previous episode, so this is going to be the L4L. Okay, let's start with those changes to the lifter. So with the L5, we used the LBT-45 Swivel engine for our center stack. It's a little bit lower thrust, but that should be fine because we didn't have it on maximum thrust anyway. And we're going to use the same fins as the L5 used. So that would be these ABT1s. Won't need the heavy or heavier fins with the control surfaces since we've got the gimbal in our engine. Now we don't have impactor, so we'll take this off. We don't need the decouplers in there anymore. We only need one of these. Come on, symmetry. It's been a bit problematic. Okay. Now we don't need this big battery on here. The main point of it was to balance out the impactor, which needed its own battery. So let's offset this thing. So it looks like it's more or less in the middle. I figured the widget's probably in the center of mass for the probe, so we want that roughly centered. I'm going to move multispectral imaging platform down here so that we can still take readings while the lander is attached. I mean, I guess technically we could, but it didn't make much sense that we could see through the other craft. So we're going to put our pressure sensor over here. We can recess them in a bit. Okay, I think 2 mystery goos for the probe on an orbiter is fine. But the lander should be able to visit many biomes on Minmus. So I think I'm going to put more than 3 mystery goos on here. We're going to go with 6. And recess them in. Okay, then 3-way symmetry for our solar panels. Just tweak it a bit. Probably tweak these a little bit. I think they're too high. That looks better. Okay, what else? We have fewer solar panels on here, so I think I'm going to put some up on this upper part, just to make sure we always are charging. Just get them all nice and flush with the surface. Not quite rotated correctly. Okay, that should do. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and we have an additional experiment this time. The seismic accelerometer. One on here, like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, we can put our fairings back on. It's a little narrower than on the last probe, so that's an improvement. Conic. Kind of like the conic more than the egg. Okay, now I think we can get away with a bit less fuel, so I'm gonna remove this tank and instead put on what is essentially 3/4 of it. Okay, this is looking pretty good. See if we can... There we go. Okay, now we need to set up our staging. So, engines there, stage for our launch clamps. And then we have decouplers and the parachutes on the boosters. Upper stage engine. So this should all be good. Last thing is just going to tweak the thrust limiter of our center stack. Don't want to have it throttled all the way up until our boosters are expended. So we're going to aim for about 1.3 thrust to weight ratio on takeoff. Okay, it's a pretty good looking rocket. I think we might want to try to time this so that Minmus is at one of either its ascending or descending node when we arrive. That way we won't have to do much of a plane change in the middle of our orbit. So with that in mind, let's go to the tracking station. Okay, we can see all the different orbits that some contracts wanted us to put satellites in. Quite a ways out there. There's Minmus. So let's zoom out here. So here, now it takes about 1/4 of Minmus's orbit to get there, just a rough estimate. So we want Minmus to be either here or here when we lift off. So then it'll be at one of these points when we arrive. And that should be a little easier to manage. So let's just time warp forward. This little bar up here doesn't seem to have all the time warp options. It's chugging away here. Come on. Almost. Okay, there we go. A little bit of time has passed. Let's see what time of day it is right now. Alright, so it looks like we're going to have a nighttime launch. Be nice for something a little different. Let's head to the launch pad. Okay, here we are on the launch pad, and staging looks good. So I think we're ready to go. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff. Once again, I'm going to do our usual straight up until we hit 100 meters per second, and then start our pitch over maneuver. Okay, let's begin to pitch over. Just going to enter map view and get our nav ball out here. Rocket does seem to want to wander off prograde, so doing little adjustments with our gimballing engine. Boosters are at about half fuel. Okay, we are coming up on booster separation. There they go. Hopefully they will be covered successfully. Let's check our apoapsis. Looking good. Oh, actually we forgot to unlimit our engine. I thought that seemed to be coming up fairly slowly. That's better. Okay, let's cut the throttle and set up our maneuver node. .75 and 71 is good enough. Should probably start burning right away. To eject our fairings. Off they go. Want to watch our periapsis carefully because I don't want to leave our main stage in orbit. It looks like our boosters were recovered, so that's good. There's our periapsis. Okay, I want to, oops, going to jettison our stage, so its orbit will decay back into the atmosphere. Start up our engine here. get us the rest of the way into orbit. It's like we're a little wonky. That's okay. Don't really need to fix this, just need to leave for Minmus. So, let's see, there's Minmus. Same thing with the Mune. Usually burn pretty much in the direction of Minmus right after it appears over the horizon. So there it is. So you can burn here. Bring that out. Easy, easy. Aha, look. Counter and didn't even have to fiddle with the inclination. Okay. So we won't quite right. We'll probably want to do a little bit of a... oops, what did I do? Okay, we'll do like that, and then do a correction maneuver halfway along. So let's get lined up with our maneuver node. Start the burn in around 45 seconds or so. Extend our primary antenna. And there's little whisker antennas as well. And maybe get this thing pointed. Oops. Pointed this way. I think actually the direction I consider up on each of the probes is actually in a separate direction. Okay, let's burn. Okay, our burn's just about over. Just going to try to chase this maneuver node around. A little more. Okay, good enough. See what our orbit looks like. Okay, let's make our course correction maneuver. Looks like we actually burned too far. Part of what we have to do is bring it back. And there is our encounter. Periapsis is quite far. Let's change our plane. Probably actually want to come in on an angle, just because that'll give us lots of opportunity to map the planet. So is that, yeah, that's a nice inclined orbit with a periapsis of 42 kilometers. Just gonna coast up to our maneuver. While our probe travels to its maneuver node, I did remember that picked up that contract for laser surface scans near the KSC monolith. Only it seemed that the contract was a little misleading, because the scan sites were actually in the hills to the southwest of the Space Center. So Bob, Jeb, and Bill went down to collect some laser readings. And overall it was a pretty uneventful trip. And with that done, let's check back with our Minmus probe. Alright, rejoining our Minmian Duo en route to Minmus. Just to re-enable our interface here. We are 8 minutes away from our maneuver node. Almost 2 days out from Kerbin. It's 12 hours, because Kerbin Day is shorter than the Earth Day, of course. So let's get oriented towards our maneuver node. Just coming around. Not sure how long this burn will be. It's only 16 meters per second delta V required, so it shouldn't be very long. Let me just time warp forward just the last little bit. And look at Kerbin, so far away. And the Mune as well. Okay, I think we're close enough. Just give us a little bit of thrust. Almost there. Okay, it looks good. Let's look at our orbit. Looks good. I'm gonna come into a highly inclined orbit. Periapsis of about 75, which is slightly higher than I intended, but we can bring that down once we get there. So let's just warp forward to the SOI change. Moving slower as we come out here. See, we've taken a total of 10 days to reach Minmus influence. Let's just take manual control of this. Should see camera flip around once we... Are we there yet? No, not quite. Where's Minmus? There it is. Oh, it looks like we have some science showing up here. Okay. Ooh, all kinds of things. Let's start with the mystery goo. I want to make sure I use one of the goos on the orbiter section, the Lilypad 2, rather than the lander. So let's observe the mystery goo from here. Goo appears no different here than elsewhere in space. Okay, it's high over Minmus, so that's not unexpected. Let's do the multispectral analysis. Minmus presents a surprisingly varied UV and infrared spectra from high over Minmus. Okay, we'll keep that. Atmospheric pressure scan. Instrument reads 0, because we are in vacuum, of course. Okay, and lastly, temperature. Temperature readings are similar to space around Kerbin. Again, not unexpected. Okay, since we got all that, let's transmit it. One will become inoperable, but that's fine. So transmit all. Close this. And that's transmitting. We've got 2 parameters complete. Oh, and a world first milestone. Let's see. So, first flyby of Minmus. And contract parameter complete. Transmit data from space around Minmus. Okay, I think... Have we hit the SOI change? Yes, we have. So there is our periapsis. Looks like it's changed a little bit from last time we looked. Oops, I think I hit the mouse wheel there. Let's add a maneuver. Okay. Actually, let's just go fully circular. I think this will not be a huge problem to change. If I had a lot of changes to do, I'd try to do them at a far apoapsis. It tends to be easier that way. I'm gonna highlight this. I think maybe bring it down to 30 or so. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's once again align ourselves for the next maneuver. Okay, just about retrograde. I guess it will be retrograde once we hit the right point of our orbit. Okay, let's warp to maneuver node. Might have also hit warp to apoapsis, but that's also fine. Should be a burn of a few seconds. Good enough. Let's get that burn going. Crank that all the way up. Just a bit more. Looks like we're in orbit now. And kill it. Okay. Okay, another world first milestone. Orbit around Minmus. We've got from our Explore Minmus contract. Same criteria. And relay satellite around Minmus. Nice. So now we have LilyPad 2 in orbit around Minmus, and LilyPad 1 in orbit around the Moon, and our satellite network. So we're getting some pretty good network infrastructure around the Kerbal system. Let's see how it looks here. So I just want to warp to periapsis and circularize our orbit a bit. Okay, so let's flip our spacecraft around so that I can burn retrograde. Don't really need to do a maneuver node for this. Okay, here we go. Just going to burn until my nodes start to flip around. We all know it's about circular, and we have 31 and 31, so that's pretty good. Nice inclined orbit will allow us to map pretty well, so let's get our mapping antenna out. Start radar scan. Not seeing anything else show up. Are we in low space around Minmus? We got the high space. While in space high over Minmus. I wonder how low we have to be for low space around Minmus. Well, our fuel reserves in the orbiter are getting a little low, so I think we'll come back to it. In the meantime, let's decouple our lander. Okay, goodbye LilyPad, and hello Minhopper. Let us rename you. Minhopper is a lander. Okay. Guess it's a probe and a lander. Let's just go back to Lilypad, make sure it's named correctly as well. Okay, I don't think we had any spot in mind in particular. I would like to land on the light side, and I would like to land probably in one of these ice flats to begin with. Or salt flats, whatever they are. Old lake beds. Guess they're probably not ice if they're near the equator and this close to the sun. Okay, let's see where is a good place. Oh, it looks like our orbit's changed quite a bit from that decouple. Well, I think that actually kicked Lilypad into a higher orbit, which is not what we wanted, but it'll be okay. Okay, let's bring this down. Let's see, which way am I going? Okay. Probably just kill my velocity entirely up here and then fall directly onto this lake bed. That should be okay. The thrust to weight ratio of the lander is quite high, so let's start up our engine. Thrust all the way up. Yep. It's got lots of power. Seems to still have a maneuver node, which I don't need. Okay, killing that horizontal velocity. Okay, that looks pretty good. Well, we got another milestone. Suborbital flight above Minmus. Nice stuff. Okay, I'm just going to time warp forward a bit, falling towards the surface of Minmus. Well, now we're starting to get some new readings. So I guess low space must be below 25 or so, but I will let the orbiter take care of that. So we're not going to look at that right now. Let's turn ourselves pointing towards the ground. See, I want to sort of try to push the retrograde marker so it's coming straight down. So carefully. Are incurring a bit of gravity losses by doing this, but it should be fine. Okay, now we're coming more or less straight down to the surface. Line ourselves up. Time warp forward a little bit. Okay, let's get our landing legs ready. I think the flats are at the datum, so this should be accurate. Actually, I think I've got the landing height mod should be enough. Yeah, I can afford to fall a little farther. It's time warp. Do we see our shadow anywhere? Not yet. Starting to see some boulders strewn about the surface. Okay, I think I'm going to start braking. Okay. Oops. Hit the wrong button. It's a little wasteful. Let's see if we can kill our horizontal velocity. Still seem to be traveling off in that direction. Okay. How high are we going? Let's see where our marker is. There it is. Okay. Okay, there's our retrograde marker. So we're falling down again. Just going to push it gently towards the top of the nav ball. Careful. Okay. A little more. There's a shadow. Okay, let's not screw this up this time. Easy. And we're down on the surface of Minmus. So shortly after the first artifact of Kerbal kind reaches the Mune, we have now reached Minmus. So much further out. Not that much harder to get to. And we got the world first milestone for that. And contract parameter complete, land on Minmus. Okay. Got a little bit of experiments to do. Let's do a pressure scan. Faint traces of gases are detected, probably off-gassing or evaporating from the surface. Interesting. Some interesting compounds in the surface, perhaps. Let's do a temperature scan. Consistent with Minmus being an airless world. Well, aside from those trace gases, but I guess as close to airless as you'd get. Okay, we have our new seismic scan. Let's check that one out. Sounds of shifting and vibration are detected under the surface. It's possible that the interior is not completely solid. That's rather interesting for a body as small as Minmus. You'd think it would have cooled and hardened a long time ago, but perhaps it was formed in the not too distant past. Let's check our laser scan. Vaporizing bits of the surface. Some of the crystals forming the smooth surface ignite when blasted by the laser. They burn with an interesting mix of color. Volatile compounds, it seems. And a mystery goo. The goo appears to flatten here more than it does elsewhere on Minmus. Must mean there's a gravitational anomaly around these flats. Interesting. Anyway, our lander has plenty of fuel, so we should be able to hop around a bit, visit several other biomes, but let's get back in contact with mission control, transmit the data we've recovered so far. I think that completes our Explore Minmus contract. Yes. So lots of good rewards from that. Okay, we will leave the min hopper here. And we return to mission control. See that there is once again an eager crowd here to watch the first footage from the surface of Minmus. managed to use a color camera this time. Take in the view of that minty green surface. Once again, our astronauts are eager to visit, but their first destination will be to the Moon. So we will continue our investigations of Minmus with the Minhopper and Lilypad 2 in the next episode. Until then, this has been Promi. Thanks for watching.